great question around what are some things that we should keep in mind as we're looking at utilizing context as a signal. And I think that the big piece that I really want to encourage, the listeners to think about is it's not just about brand safety, but it's around brand suitability. What's really the context of what's happening in that environment. It's not about a keyword on a page. It's not about one word in a voice. It's around the context of what's going on. And I had a really great example of where someone, eliminated the word knife as a brand safety strategy. But they were selling products that were guided towards people that cook, and most cooking content and shows within their library of like what you need to perform those skills and develop a recipe usually involves a knife. So I think it's really important for marketers to understand how the contextual signals that they're utilizing in this strategy are actually coming together. Are they keyword focused? Are they actually built around the linguistic understanding of what's happening in that environment and on that page? Because all contextual solutions are not the same. So that's what I would say first. Second is, I think that we are moving into a very powerful video-based economy. When I think about TikTok, Snapchat, what Meta is doing with Reels to grow video consumption, what we're seeing from streaming time on CTV, video, sight, sound, and motion, and like the ability for advertisers to show up with something in an ad format that is dynamic and delivers something that connects to consumers in a full screen environment. It's something that we're not as used to in the cookie world, where we've been focused a lot on display advertising potentially, and a page with a lot of words and also a lot of ads. And so this new environment where we're like captivating the consumer is really different. I would say that we've lived in a world the last 15, 20 years where we've been uncaptivating the consumer with a lot in one environment. And so I think the contextual signals become a little bit different. We look back maybe to the history of how we got started as an industry, especially within television advertising. Brands used to buy content as a proxy for like who they were reaching as an audience, right? And I think a little bit of that knowledge and a little bit of that in our recipe to be successful is going to be needed in this kind of like new video-based environment. I also think that context will naturally blend itself with other things like first-party data, third-party data, in ways in which we may not have been bringing it together holistically in the past. You could think about, how can I organize inventory better? We're seeing a massive trend today where more and more agencies are investing in private deals, whether that's PMPs in private marketplaces, whether that's doing direct deals with publishers. And they're trying to understand what are the signals I need to bring together to understand what's most valuable for my brand. And so the SSPs are playing a different role in the industry today than they maybe have in the last 5 years. So they're catching signals early, and they're organizing content and data for PMPs around big swaths of inventory that can actually be sizable, scalable, and matter maybe to a brand and advertiser. And so we need to understand how that collaborates with our demand side platform strategy, and actually how that's going to drive the most outcomes, if you will, that give the brand ultimately what they need. And I think again, we're not in this. I would say we've passed the Office Max easy button time in our life with cookies, where it's a little bit more complex. But I think that what we get out of the resiliency of knowing more about a consumer, spending more time thinking about the environments in which they're in. How are they engaging? What's the potential mindset of someone watching maybe news content versus someone watching a comedy, or someone engaging with, cooking or lifestyle type content. So I think there's no perfect answer here, but I think that what's great is we have a toolbox, and there's a lot of tools in it that our industry provides us. And I think it's really kind of thinking about the approach of, where am I sourcing my inventory? What's going to be the best signal for me? If I'm sourcing from an inventory source that has no data, context is an amazing signal. It's also an amazing signal when there is data, because maybe I can get a little bit more refined around what is that exact, like, kind of experience that I want to associate my brand with. Whether I'm like really after an outdoors person, what are they experiencing in the content? It really starts to complement my brand and potentially what I'm building for my creative and delivering out into market.